Welcome back to Melissa Arsenal Analysis. I am Melissa, and today we are diving deep into one of the most eventful international breaks Arsenal have experienced in recent memory. There is so much to unpack here. Injuries, performances, transfer rumours, young players stepping up, and some very important conversations happening around this football club. So let us get straight into it because there is no time to waste. Thomas Tuchel on Noni Madueke. Thomas Tuchel, speaking to TalkSport, had this to say about Noni Madueke. Quote, "He was electric, he was on fire, he was ready to go from the start, and we built the structure for him to go 1v1, and they play almost man marking. So I think it was a matter of time until he could make the difference for us. Very, very sad. I hope the injury is not too bad. We had to rush into substitutions, which we would have liked to take later in 2 slots, and suddenly we lost the slots, so it cost us a little bit." End quote. Now, those are Tuchel's exact words, and they tell you a great deal. When an England manager publicly says a player was electric and on fire, that is not a throwaway comment. That is a manager telling the world that this player was performing at the highest level before the injury happened. The tactical detail Tuchel mentions is also fascinating. He says the structure was built for Madueke to exploit 1v1 situations against a side that plays almost man-marking. That tells you Madueke was not just playing freely. He was the designated weapon for this specific game plan. The injury did not just cost Arsenal a player, it cost England a tactical key in that moment. And the fact that Tuchel lost substitution slots because of the forced change meant his ability to influence the game later was significantly reduced. This is the ripple effect of one injury. One player goes down and suddenly a manager is reacting instead of planning. Charles Watts on Madueke walking with a brace. Charles Watts responded to a report from Dan Sheldon with 2 words that every Arsenal fan felt deeply. He said, quote, "Yeah, this does not look good," end quote. Dan Sheldon had written, quote, "Noni Madueke has just walked through the mixed zone at Wembley with a brace on his left leg. He had to be substituted in the first half after colliding with Uruguay's Rodrigo Aguirre. A brace on the left leg after a first half substitution. That image tells a story before any diagnosis is confirmed. Charles Watts is a journalist who covers Arsenal daily. He is not prone to panic. So when his reaction is simply, 'This does not look good,' that is a signal to take seriously. The collision with Rodrigo Aguirre during an international friendly is the kind of moment that sends shockwaves through a club's season. Arsenal are fighting on 3 fronts, the Premier League, the Champions League and the FA Cup. Losing a player of Madueke's ability and versatility at this stage is a genuine problem, and we will come back to what it means for the squad shortly. A full summary of Arsenal players on international duty reveals a mixed picture. Christian Mosquera made his senior international debut. Ben White marked his return with a goal but also conceded a penalty. Noni Madueke was forced off in the 38th minute following a suspected injury. Riccardo Calafiori completed 90 minutes for Italy, winning all of his duels. Christian Norgard found the net for Denmark. Victor Gyökeres delivered a standout performance with a hat-trick for Sweden. A mixed international window so far, with both positives and fitness concerns emerging for Arsenal. The range of outcomes here is significant. On the positive side, Mosquera making his senior debut is a milestone moment. Calafiori completing 90 minutes and winning all his duels shows the Italian defender is in excellent physical condition heading into the final stretch of the season. Norgard scoring for Denmark is a reminder of his quality, and Gyökeres with a hat-trick for Sweden continues to fuel the conversation about whether Arsenal should be pursuing him. But the shadow over all of this is Madueke. A player forced off in the 38th minute of a friendly is not good news under any circumstances. The fact that he was seen leaving with a brace on his leg makes the picture even more concerning. Rice and Saka rested by England. Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka were rested for England's friendly against Uruguay at Wembley. Both have played heavy minutes this season. Rice has played 3,462 minutes. Saka has played 2,869 minutes. Tuchel's statement on this was, quote, "Giving them a mental and physical break will benefit the team." This is smart management and it deserves to be recognised as such. Tuchel made a calculated decision to protect 2 of Arsenal's most important players during an international window. When you look at those minute totals, Rice and Saka have been carrying enormous workloads this season. 3,462 minutes for Rice is exceptional. These are not players who have been managed carefully at club level. They've been playing almost everything. So the decision to rest them here is not just about one friendly. It is about making sure they are available and performing at their best when Arsenal need them most in the weeks ahead. Rice and Saka arriving for England duty. Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka were photographed arriving for England duty, looking relaxed and smiling after being given a rest for England's first match by Thomas Tuchel. The body language here matters. These are two players who have been under enormous pressure all season. Seeing them arrive looking genuinely relaxed is a good sign. It suggests the break served its purpose. Mental freshness is just as important as physical recovery. And that image of two players smiling and walking with confidence is the kind of thing that quietly reassures you heading into the business end of the season. Before we continue, I want to say something to everyone watching right now. If this level of detail and honest analysis is what you are looking for when it comes to Arsenal, then please hit that subscribe button right now on this channel. Melissa, Arsenal Analyst, we do not rush through stories. We take them apart piece by piece so you understand not just what happened, but why it matters. Every goal, every injury, every transfer rumour, every managerial decision, we cover it all with the depth it deserves. So subscribe now and join thousands of Arsenal supporters who want the full picture. Now let us keep going. Jurgen Klopp praises Arsenal under Arteta. Speaking to a local news outlet in Germany, Jurgen Klopp named Arsenal under Mikel Arteta as one of the toughest sides he faced in the Premier League. Klopp said, quote, "It was Arsenal during Arteta's time. I had to do a lot of preparation. It was always hard to beat Mikel Arteta. It was a team you could not just walk past." And now this is significant coming from Jurgen Klopp. This is a man who managed Liverpool at the peak of their powers, a manager who won the Premier League, the Champions League, and built one of the most dominant sides English football has seen in decades. When someone like that singles out Arsenal as the team that required the most preparation, that is not flattery. That is respect earned over years of competitive battles. Klopp saying you could not just walk past them is his way of acknowledging the defensive solidity, the tactical discipline, and the collective organisation that Arteta has built. That kind of external validation from a legendary manager carries real weight. Tuchel defends Ben White. England boss Thomas Tuchel spoke at length about Ben White after the Arsenal defender received boos from England fans at Wembley. Tuchel said, quote, "I heard that he was booed. I did not hear it actually because I was involved in the changes and instructions. It cannot be the majority. There were some boos and some mixed reception for him, which I am disappointed about because of course we protect our players. He was excellent in camp and he deserved to come on. He deserved also to start, got us almost a winner. But I also understood that it happened to other players before here, so he needs to take it on the chin. We will always protect him." The language Tuchel uses here is precise and deliberate. He says it cannot be the majority. That is a manager defending his player publicly and drawing a line. He also says we will always protect him. That is a commitment made in front of the press and the public. What this moment reveals is that Ben White's return to the England setup was always going to carry emotional weight given everything that happened previously. But Tuchel's response shows a modern manager who values the human side of football as much as the tactical side. Jordan Henderson backs Ben White. Jordan Henderson publicly supported Ben White after the Wembley incident. Henderson said, quote, "As teammates, we are always there to support. I have been through it myself, but that is part and parcel of being an England player." Some of the fans probably do not even know why they are booing. They listen to what is being said in the media, and a lot of the time what the media says is not true. And not many people know the ins and outs of what happened in Qatar, and it is for us to deal with internally. Ben has been good since he came back in, and we will support him as teammates. Henderson's words here are carefully chosen. He acknowledges that booing happens, but challenges the basis of it. He suggests that some fans are reacting to media narratives rather than facts. And he makes a crucial point about Qatar. He says not many people know the ins and outs. That is a teammate drawing a line and saying, judge him on what you see, not on speculation. This level of public support from a senior England player is meaningful. It reinforces that within the squad, Ben White is valued and protected. Harry Maguire on Ben White. Harry Maguire also weighed in on Ben White. Maguire said, quote, "It is a ridiculous penalty. It is soft. I would be attempting to block the shot as well." A bit crazy scoring the first goal. I thought he was brilliant. He has been really good, really positive, a big smile on his face. And Maguire's take on the penalty is direct. He calls it ridiculous and soft. He is defending a teammate from criticism by pointing out that blocking a shot is a natural defensive action. And his description of White's attitude in camp, really positive, a big smile on his face, paints the picture of a player who has returned to the international setup in a good mental space. That matters enormously when you consider everything White has navigated. Ben White becomes the 34th Arsenal player to score for England. Opta confirmed that Ben White became the 34th Arsenal player to score for England. That makes Arsenal level with Manchester United and Aston Villa as the clubs with the most England scorers from a single club. This is a historic moment that deserves to be celebrated properly. In the context of everything else happening around this game, the booing, the injury chaos, the tactical disruptions, Ben White quietly made history. The 34th Arsenal player to score for England, level with clubs that have been around and contributing to English football for well over 100 years. That is a statement about this football club's relationship with the national team, and it is a detail that will not get enough attention amidst the noise. Pyro Hincapié for Ecuador. AFTV reported that Pyro Hincapié was in the starting lineup for Ecuador against Morocco, completing 72 minutes on the pitch before being substituted. The description was simple, always focused. 72 minutes in international football for a player who has been linked with Arsenal is meaningful data. He is fit, he is starting, and he is completing substantial minutes. The phrase always focused tells you something about his character and his professionalism. These are the kinds of details that matter when assessing whether a player would fit into Arteta's system, which demands total commitment and tactical discipline from every individual on the pitch. Kai Havertz on the final months of the season. Kai Havertz spoke directly about his commitment to Arsenal for the remaining months of the season. His words were, quote, "I am going to give my all for the club over the last few months." Simple, direct, and worth paying attention to. When a player makes a public statement like this, they are doing more than speaking to fans. They are making a personal commitment. Havertz has had a difficult injury-hit season, but this message is clear. He is here, he is focused, and he intends to contribute. In a season where Arsenal are fighting for multiple trophies, that kind of mentality from a senior player is exactly what you need. Kai Havertz returns for Germany. Kai Havertz marked his return to international duty with Germany in a 4-3 win, showing sharp distribution with an 88% pass accuracy despite limited impact up front. After a difficult injury-hit season, the Arsenal forward is gradually regaining rhythm with signs of confidence returning in his link-up play and positioning. With key fixtures ahead for Arsenal, his steady reintegration could still prove crucial in the run. An 88% pass accuracy on your return from injury is a strong number. It suggests that while his goal threat may still be building, his technical quality and decision-making are functioning well. For a player returning from a difficult spell, that kind of performance with the national team is exactly the confidence booster needed. The mention of his link-up play improving is particularly interesting because that has been a key part of how Arteta wants his number 9 to operate. If Havertz is finding those connections again, his contribution to Arsenal's final push could be more significant than some expect. The case for Max Dowman, with Noni Madueke likely sidelined through injury and Bukayo Saka experiencing a slight dip in form, there is now a strong case for Max Dowman to step into a more prominent first-team role. Mikel Arteta is expected to place increasing trust in the youngster, particularly as the season reaches its decisive phase, with opportunities likely across both domestic and European competitions. This is the natural consequence of what has happened during this international break. Madueke's injury has opened a door, and the question now is whether Arteta will trust Dowman enough to walk through it. The fact that opportunities are anticipated across domestic and European competitions suggests this is not just about filling in for one game. This could be a genuine run of starts for a player who has already shown he belongs at this level. The timing is both challenging and full of possibility for Dowman, Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri for England under-21s. AFTV reported that Miles Lewis-Skelly played the full game for the England under-21s. Ethan Nwaneri was looking sharp as always before a minor injury forced him off. The message was, hoping it is nothing serious for Ethan. The contrast here is instructive. Lewis-Skelly completing 90 minutes for the under-21s shows he is fit and available. Nwaneri's minor injury is a concern, though the word minor is important. Still, in a season where Arsenal are already managing several fitness situations, even a minor injury to Nwaneri is something to monitor. These are two young players whose trajectories at Arsenal have been the subject of significant debate, and we will address that in more detail when we get to the articles. Gabriel Jesus transfer update. A transfer update on Gabriel Jesus reveals that his entourage has already received several inquiries ahead of the summer transfer window and is now awaiting official offers. Jesus' preference is clear. He wants to secure a new long-term contract of 3 to 4 years in Europe before any future return to Palmeiras. His current deal with Arsenal runs until June 2027. This is a situation that Arsenal will need to manage carefully. Jesus has a contract until June 2027, which gives the club some control, but the fact that his entourage is already receiving inquiries and awaiting official offers tells you that other clubs are circling. The preference for a long-term European contract is actually not a bad sign for Arsenal. It means he is not rushing for the exit, but it does put pressure on the club to clarify his future one way or another. Is he part of the long-term plan, or is this the summer where they make a decision? Fabrizio Romano on Arsenal's summer plans. Fabrizio Romano stated clearly that Arsenal will add something up front in the summer. He said, quote, "We will see whether it is going to be a winger or a striker. For sure, Arsenal will be busy up front in the summer. I expect an important summer. They have things to do at fullback, midfield, up front." Romano identifying 3 specific areas of need is important. Fullback, midfield, up front. That is not a club doing minor adjustments. That is a club preparing for significant reinforcement. Arsenal spent heavily in a previous summer and are expected to do so again. The uncertainty about whether the addition will be a winger or a striker is genuine because both positions carry pressing need depending on how the current squad evolves between now and the end of the season. But Romano's confidence that something will happen up front is worth taking seriously. Kvaratskhelia to Arsenal is a rumour, not reality. Fabrizio Romano addressed the Kvaratskhelia to Arsenal rumours direct. Romano said, quote, "He is captaining Georgia, performing brilliantly and doing a fantastic job at Paris Saint-Germain. Honestly, maybe even underrated because sometimes people forget just how consistent he has been for Paris Saint-Germain. There have been rumours again about Arsenal being interested, but my understanding is crystal clear. Paris Saint-Germain have no intention to open talks for Kvaratskhelia this summer. And Kvaratskhelia himself, speaking in Paris, said, quote, "Paris for me is truly incredible. You have everything here. And on top of that, it is the city of love. I love Paris. I love everything about Paris. The more I think about it, the more I appreciate how respectful people are." And now let me be absolutely direct about this. The Kvaratskhelia link to Arsenal is a rumour. It is not a negotiation. It is not an agreed deal. It is not even a conversation. Romano, who is one of the most reliable voices in European football transfers, says Paris Saint-Germain have no intention of opening talks, and the player himself is publicly declaring his love for Paris and his happiness at the club. Until either of those two positions changes, this story does not have legs. Arsenal supporters should enjoy the speculation but not invest emotionally in it. Kvaratskhelia and Arsenal's summer direction. Let me now go deeper on the Kvaratskhelia situation because it reveals something important about where Arsenal are and where they are trying to go. The reality is that Arsenal have been criticised this season for a lack of creativity in certain games. There has been a reliance on set pieces to generate goals, and that has led to questions about whether the squad has enough creativity and unpredictability in wide areas. Kvaratskhelia would answer that question emphatically. He is a player who can take people on, create chances from nothing, and make things happen in tight spaces. It is completely understandable why his name has been linked with Arsenal. But here is where the analysis must be honest. Paris Saint-Germain signed Kvaratskhelia for approximately £69 million just 14 months ago. Clubs do not spend that kind of money and then allow the player to leave after barely a year unless circumstances change dramatically. And right now, the evidence suggests Paris Saint-Germain are happy with him. Romano says they love his attitude, his professionalism and his consistency. The player says he loves Paris. Both doors are closed from the inside. What this does tell us, however, is that Arsenal's need for an attacking wide player is real and acknowledged. Romano himself said Arsenal will add something up front this summer, whether a winger or a striker. So the question is not whether Arsenal will strengthen in that area. The question is who. Kvaratskhelia appears to be unavailable, so the search for the right profile continues. And with multiple areas of the squad requiring investment, Arsenal's recruitment team will need to be precise, strategic and patient. The Max Dowman debate and youth development at Arsenal. The TalkSport presenter Adrian Durham's comments about Max Dowman are provocative and deserve to be examined carefully and honestly. Durham argues that Dowman should leave Arsenal as soon as possible. His argument rests on 2 examples, Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly, both graduates of Arsenal's Hale End Academy, both players who showed exceptional promise and then found their paths at Arsenal blocked or redirected. Nwaneri, despite his obvious talent, was sent on loan to Marseille with no recall clause. Lewis-Skelly, who broke into the first team and earned an England call-up, is now described as third-choice left-back. Durham's criticism of Arteta is essentially this: The manager uses young players when convenient, gives them moments of visibility, and then sidelines them when more expensive options become available or when tactical needs change. Now, the evidence presented does support parts of this argument. Lewis Skelly is indeed behind Piero Hincapié and Riccardo Calafiori at left-back. Nwaneri is indeed on loan at Marseille without a recall option. Those are facts, not opinions, and the connection Durham draws between those situations and Dowman's future is a logical one. But here is where the analysis requires balance. Dowman has only just broken through. He became the youngest goalscorer in Premier League history with a stunning contribution against Everton. He is an extraordinary talent, but the argument that he should leave immediately is based on a fear of what might happen rather than what has already happened to him specifically. The real question is this: does Arteta view Dowman differently from Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly? The injury to Madueke may actually be the moment that answers that question, because now Arteta has a genuine reason to give Dowman extended opportunity across the final stretch of the season in the Premier League, in the Champions League and in the FA Cup. If he does that, it suggests Dowman is being integrated. If he signs a winger in the summer and Dowman's minutes disappear, Durham's warning will look prophetic. What is not in question is Dowman's talent. It is exceptional, and the responsibility now falls on Arsenal to demonstrate that they value that talent enough to build around it rather than supplement it with expensive alternatives and eventually push it toward the exit. The situation with Lewis Skelly is instructive here too. A player who was in the England senior setup is now playing under-21 football and described as third choice at his own club. That career arc, from senior England international to third choice in one season, is a cautionary tale. Durham is right to flag it. Whether Dowman follows that path depends entirely on decisions that have not been made yet. But awareness of the risk is important. Arsenal are a club that demands winners. Arteta has built a squad of senior internationals and experienced players. Integrating youth into that environment is genuinely difficult. The cases of Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly suggest that when senior options are available, youth tends to step back. Whether Dowman can break that pattern will be one of the defining storylines of Arsenal's season. What this international break means for Arsenal, step back and look at the full picture from this international break, and several things become clear. First, Madueke's injury is the biggest immediate concern. The severity is not yet confirmed, but the images of him walking with a brace and being forced off in the 38th minute of a friendly are worrying. Arsenal are chasing trophies on three fronts. Losing an attacking option at this stage creates genuine problems. Second, Ben White's return to the England fold was turbulent but ultimately positive. He scored, he was defended publicly by his manager and his teammates, and he made history as the 34th Arsenal player to score for England. That is a story of resilience. Third, Havertz returning to form, even partially for Germany, is encouraging. His 88% pass accuracy on his first international appearance in some time suggests his technical quality is intact, even as he rebuilds his sharpness. If he can contribute meaningfully in the final months, Arsenal's attacking options look healthier. Fourth, the transfer picture for the summer is coming into focus. Romano has confirmed Arsenal will strengthen up front. The Kovacic-Kelleher link is a rumour without foundation right now. Gabriel Jesus has interest from other clubs, but his preference is for a long-term European deal. Hincapié continues to show he is fit and playing, and Arsenal's needs across fullback, midfield and attack are acknowledged by those closest to the situation. Fifth, and perhaps most importantly for the long term, the debate around Dowman and youth development at Arsenal is a conversation the club cannot afford to ignore. The examples of Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly are there for everyone to see. Dowman's moment has arrived. How Arsenal manage it will say a great deal about who they are and who they want to be. This is Melissa, Arsenal Analyst. Thank you for watching this full breakdown. If you have made it to the end, you already know this channel gives you the depth and the detail that most places do not. Please subscribe if you have not already. Leave a comment below. Tell me your thoughts on the Dowman debate. Tell me who you think Arsenal should target up front this summer. Tell me what you think about Ben White's return. I want to hear from this community. The analysis continues on this channel, and so does the season. Arsenal are 9 points clear at the top of the Premier League. They are in the Champions League quarter-finals. They are in the FA Cup quarter-finals. The opportunity in front of this club is real, and we will be here every step of the way covering it with the honesty, the depth and the respect this club deserves. This is Melissa. Stay loyal, stay sharp, and I will see you in the next one.